doc that is in the lesson. So I want you to open that up so that we match. And what you should see is where it says counterclaim at the top. What does the other side say? So remember, your paper is arguing to get the reader to accept your point of view and that your view is the only view. Remember, you're the expert. Your reader knows nothing. And it's an effective paper that addresses what the other side might say and explains why that point of view is wrong. So there are some key things that you need to be aware of and that they are necessary in a counterclaim. So first thing is that you have a transition into the opposition paragraph, like their counterclaim paragraph. This is a totally different opinion than your own. So you need to lead your reader into the paragraph so they understand what's going on. Example. Some people may disagree and say that the government should have the right to control the individual. As you can see here, you're leading the reader into looking at the other side, and that should is that transition word. Background information and a detailed example or even a quote potentially for the opposition's point of view. Opposition, oppose, going against, okay? Why do people who have the opposite opinion feel this way? So you want to give background info that leads into a specific example, quote from the text that supports what the other side believes. So here's your example. These people may believe that government control of individuals leads to an efficient society. An anthem, because the government controls every aspect of life, even going so far as choosing their jobs for them, there are no people left without specific roles in society. Every person has a role they are required to fulfill in order for society to run smoothly. So the background information is using like a quote from the book Anthem. Okay, so that is what is being referenced here. The explanation of this point of view is wrong and that yours is right. Again, my favorite part of an argumentative essay. In order for your counterclaim paragraph to be very effective, you need to not only address what other people may believe, but also explain why they are wrong and you are right. Here's your example. Although the government might run smoothly under complete government control, it is important to remember that individuals are allowed to have rights and freedom. The government should not be allowed to have such control over the individual, because it would severely limit the freedom of the people. So, slam them really hard, tell them why they're wrong. Notice with these examples, not one time do you see a personal pronoun. Personal pronouns are not allowed in our writing. That means no I, me, my, mine, our, ours, us, or we. Okay? Now let's take a look at your next reference. The counterclaim worksheet, and it's a PDF. Okay? So we have some things that you can use and sentence starters that you can use and help, just like with your they say, I say sentence templates. So step one, ways to begin a counterclaim. Many people believe that. It is often thought that. It might seem as if, while it is common that. These are general statements, and that's what we want to make sure that we do. We generalize things for a counterclaim so that they're not so specific. Okay, we don't want to draw ourselves into a corner with a crayon. Step two, ways to transition from the opposite side back to your side. What this argument fails to consider is, this view sounds convincing at first, but although the core claim is valid, it suffers from the flaw in its. Okay, so we're setting things up to then come back to say what our side is, and that our side is the only side. It is the right side. Annotated counterclaim paragraph. So open this document so that we match here. When writing an argumentative essay, you need to acknowledge the valid points of the other side of the argument, meaning the counterclaim. Otherwise, you will come off sounding narrow-minded and thereby be less effective. So that means like you're looking only through one viewpoint and one viewpoint only. You have to be able to acknowledge all sides. Okay, so rather than weakening your paper, a good counterclaim paragraph will actually strengthen your essay by showing that you have thoughtfully considered both sides of the issue before arriving at your own claim. And you can see how this is annotated and color-coded. So we have phrases to introduce our counterclaim. On the other hand, some people say, admittedly, some people say, certainly, some people say, phrases to address the counterclaim or the original claim, however, nevertheless, and on the other hand, and phrases to conclude the paragraph, thus, therefore, and as a result. So you can see over here, these would be your SWABIes, your subordinating conjunctions. On the other hand, some people say that rock music contains lyrics that are both provocative and rebellious. This point of view makes sense because in the article it states that one form of rock music, punk rock, concentrates purely on antisocial subjects as a basis for its songs. However, rock music itself is not enough to make a teenager rebel against society because the article also says that the average teenager does not take it seriously and concentrates more on the musical value of the songs rather than the inner meaning of the lyrics. Therefore, even though lyrics in rock and roll music show hints of anarchy and social rebellion, it is not a threat to society. Not one time do you see a personal pronoun addressing the other side, providing evidence from the text, stating why they are wrong, and providing another piece of evidence and analyzing that. Now, let's take a look at some practice. So I want you to open up the Counterclaim Paragraph practice, and you're going to see you have 4 practices. Okay, so let's preview. You're going to read the writing prompt, okay, and on the lines below, you're going to write a counterclaim paragraph of an essay. The format, it should be a counterclaim, a citation, and then analysis, and then another citation, an explanation, a citation, and an explanation. And if you need more space, you can add in, keep over here to the side as digital post-its, or you can even add in your comments, or even insert a blank page and add in some lines there. So you have multiple ways to do that. Okay, so remember an A equals analysis, a C equals citation, and E equals explanation. So the writing prompt. Write an essay for your school newspaper arguing whether playing video games significantly affects physical health. Wait, I feel like we've looked at this one before. We have. This one is in your text-based writing notes. Hint, hint. Your essay must be based on the ideas, concepts, and information that can be determined through the analysis of do video games have a major effect on players' physical health? Passage set. So here is the plus, meaning pro. Here is the negative, con. And then based on the evidence here, I want you to try your hand at a counterclaim, to try it yourself. Now let's move to the next one. Same directions. Here's our next prompt. Write an essay for your school's principal discussing whether or not students should be required to play a musical instrument in school. Your essay must be based on the ideas, concepts, and information that can be determined through analysis of the musically intelligent passage set. Okay, so you have 2 pieces of evidence as the plus for the 4 and 1 piece of evidence for the negative. So you're going to take your counterclaim. Okay, so you see which side has the most amount of evidence. That means that this essay, this student's essay, is in support of them playing a musical instrument. So the counterclaim is going to argue against, saying that some parents cannot afford the cost to rent a musical instrument from the school, and broken instruments also cost money to be repaired or replaced. So you're going to have to argue, while some may say, and then analysis, say really hard why they're wrong using your evidence from the plus to counteract that. Practice 3. Write an essay to your local newspaper in which you give your opinion about whether or not a bike sharing program would work in your community. Remember, when they say your opinion, that is a trick question. Nobody ever cares what we think or feel. They just want to see if we can write to a prompt. So no personal pronouns. Your essay must be based on the ideas, concepts, and information that can be determined through the analysis of the bikes in your community passage set. So we see there are pluses and minuses. We see that there are more pluses, so that means that the writer, the student wrote for they should. The counterclaim is going to be the negative. And then the last one. Write an essay to your school district superintendent about whether or not selling bottled water or using a water purification system, and you see that typo, I'm going to fix that, would be the best decision for your school district. Your essay must be based on the ideas, concepts, and information that can be determined through the analysis of their water choices passage set. So here we see for bottled water, we only see 1 point. And water purification system, we see 2. So based on what we see, more evidence, the essay will be written from there should be a water purification system. The counterclaim will end up being about bottled water, and then you're going to tell them why it should be a water purification system. And you can see your lines are down below. And that is your practice for a counterclaim paragraph to get us ready for our Johnny counterclaim paragraph.